What is going on, all you profitable stylists out there and all your future profitable stylists? We're talking about beyond cosmetology school. What are some advanced certifications that you can get? What are things you can do that can drive your profitability? There is state to state, Bernard. Every state has different requirements. Some states require hours, some don't. But for example, like in Illinois, you got to get 1,500 hours. That schooling nowadays on the low end is costing 15 to 20 grand. On the high end, it's upwards of 40. Okay. There are some other states that require more hours. Some states require less hours. Some states don't require any hours. But now what we're finding is there's a disconnect. This is what I want to talk about. There's a disconnect. You go to school, you spend all this monies, you come out of school, you're only making about 20, 30 grand when you first come out. If you're good, if you can find a stable,
hopefully, right.
If you could find full-time stable job, 15 to 20 grand you're making. If you're most students, stylists, new stylists that come out, they're only working part-time. They're barely even clearing 15, 20 grand.
That is part of the problem. So I got up at 4 a.m. this morning. That's just old age talking there. Like, why in the world is this body saying I don't need any more sleep? Because I'm kind of tired and I should be sleeping. But I'm up early. And then a school owner calls me about 6 a.m. A local school owner. And I was like, hello, well, you're up early. Because I get up early every day. And so ironically, the topic today is perfect because we were talking and she's in Mississippi. She said, so, they just merged the boards. There's just one board now. No barber board, no cosmetology board. It's the board of some long name. I think it names both of them in one board name. I said, that's interesting. She said, and they took away the practical exam. I said, what? She said, yep, I think there's 3 states now that do that where you, it could be good, it could be bad. But the one part of it is the schools, I just commented on a social media post too, because I thought it was interesting. And I'm like, I'm here for it. I want to hear the arguments because somebody posted that you don't learn in school. You just get the basics you learn when you get out and you don't know anything. And of course, that really ticks school owners and teachers off. And they're like, it's the students that won't apply themselves. Of course, we have it all here. And then I just gave my little 2 cents and I said, I traveled the country teaching classes and I can say it's all over the board. Actually, some schools do a great job teaching and those students know a lot and some just don't. So really the problem is it's all over the place. And then I didn't even know that some schools don't even have to take the practical exam. And that was the argument. One of the comments said, well, all school does is prepare you for state board. And some do. Some just hone in on, let's get these freaking kids out of the school and not have to keep teaching them the same thing over and over. Let's get them finger waves down. I don't care if they ever have to do them again, but I want them to pass that test so our school looks good. Bigger percentage of students are passing and they're out on their own and we don't care after that. They'd like to say they care, but they don't make money after that. So they're not motivated to care. And that's the problem. Just get through the exam. So that's a thought process that makes sense to me. Take the exam away, then the schools will be focused on what? Maybe nothing at all.
It's a bigger problem than that. I'll pile on. It's even a bigger problem than that. And this is going back many years now. There was a lot of schools that shut down before the pandemic. Yeah. And even after the pandemic, there was a lot of schools that shut down because the government, when it came to financial aid, they restructured financial aid. This was before the pandemic. And what happened was, in order for the government to keep giving the schools, what did I just say?
Financial aid. Yeah.
Right. Financial aid. They had to ensure a certain percentage of graduation.
Right.
In addition to that, they had to ensure that the student would get placed in a job and retain said job for up to a year minimum.
They probably had a minimum income level set. put on that too.
I don't know the details particularly, but the problem with that is, first of all, how do you ensure a student to not drop out? How do you force anybody to do anything? If
Well,
somebody's going to drop out for whatever reason, they're going to drop out, you know?
but there should, I do agree with the grading scale though, because the better a school prepares you to be successful out there, the more successful you're going to be. I know staying in one place, that's a difficult thing, because I would say as long as they continue to do the profession, I don't care if they have 3 jobs in the first year, because we make mistakes, go to the wrong place. But how much money are you making in the thing that you paid to get the license for? That's the challenge. But I know a lot of schools are in the 20 to almost $30,000 range. I didn't realize anywhere in the $40,000 range that
and more and higher.
Yeah. So this was interesting when I was talking this morning to the school owner. She was saying, so some schools, not some schools, but some people just want to get a license in parts of what, like just nails or just facials, you know, and they have names for it, aesthetics or nail tech.
Oh yeah, nails, aesthetics, or massage is the only 3.
Which was a little bit of an argument I brought up. And I know we're going to get to the higher education, but I thought we'd start with the basic education first. And I said, in my opinion, most stylists don't want to or never do nails, hands, feet, or facials. So why is that included in our license? Not to mention most schools barely teach it because many state boards don't cover it. So it's like paint one nail. Well, we can cover that towards the end of the year and a half, whatever. So if you can get just nails or just facial estiology, why can't you get just hair? Some people just want to do hair. Maybe it could be less expensive. Maybe it could even be less hours. You get out and just do hair. Hair is complicated enough that I think that that's part of the reason why some education gets a little watered down, because like, all right, this whole month we're going to have to focus on pedicures. I know some of you guys don't want to touch feet at all. And then manicures, I know some of you'll never do that or do facials, but we have to cover it so you can pass state board. And so they spend a lot of weeks, sometimes months, covering things that don't need to be covered at all. And then my biggest complaint experience-wise, hiring students out of school in our area has been the local schools have been a little weak on men's haircuts. And so I remember back in the day when they were better at men's cuts because they were so cheap. That's all they did was men and old ladies. And they didn't know how to do the younger, trendier color foil techniques. Sure. Now it's kind of turned around in my lifetime. I see foil and color being a stronger thing because you've got a school that's like Aveda or Paul Mitchell who sell color. So they focus on teaching them color. They want them to buy their color when they graduate and know how to use it, which I love. And it's almost like some of them just completely abandon because they're not promoting it, and men are feeling uncomfortable going in there into the school. They're like, oh, it's so much color going on. I feel out of place. I don't need color. Although I do, they just want to get a haircut. And so maybe it's too expensive. Maybe they're not comfortable. So then the students don't get the practice they need with men's cuts. So I hire a lot out of these schools that have done 1 or 2 men's haircuts in a year and a half of school or 2 years. And so they need some help with that. So I think every school has their strengths and their weaknesses, and that's a shame. So with that being said, we're writing a hair extension curriculum to help schools teach a better, higher end, more profitable service. So a stylist can be more profitable when they get out of school, because I think that's going to be more the focus in the future. Help stylists actually be able to make money with the time they spend. But the real focus of this is you can do that after you get out of school, right? There's a lot of things you can do after you get out of school. There's a lot of things that you need to learn after you got out of school that you should have learned in school. Well, but you're the one doing it. And so ultimately, whether it's fair or not, or right or wrong, or they teach it or they don't, you really have to be the one to control your future. You know, I always said, I like one of these sayings, I put it in a speech I did recently, is that in general, people kind of sit around and watch things happen, or they make things happen. You are one of the two. You either make things happen or you let things happen. And so when you're in school, you can complain, I paid too much. The instructors aren't teaching me anything. They don't focus on men's haircuts, but you're there, you're getting the license. You have to get what you need while you're there, and scam the system in a positive way for you. You know, you got to take advantage, because yeah, you can fall through the cracks and you can try to avoid things. I have to admit, I don't do updos till this day. I made a few attempts, but I literally avoided them in school. I gave them away. I said, no, I'm not feeling good. The one I got scheduled, they were like, oh, Kathy, an old instructor's visiting today. Maybe she'll do that updo for you, Bernard, and teach the whole class. We'll make it a demo. Yeah, let's do that. Check it off. I did my updo. I think I had to do 2 before I got out of school. And both times somebody else did it for me as a teaching experience, but I got to check it off. So I got out of school, never doing an updo, and never have ever again since then. And maybe it should be like a black mark on my license. Bernard never learned updos. He should never be able to do them in the real world, you know? And that's fine. That's fair. But I wasn't that good at haircuts when I first got out of school either. But eventually, after doing them, I got better and better. And I can't say I did it the right way. I just didn't quit. And there's something to be said about continuing to move forward, good or bad, right or wrong. You will eventually, hopefully, get it if you're trying.
There is the biggest draw of this industry is the ability to produce income.
Yes.
And you could produce the income at whatever level you want. Nowadays, it is such a perfect environment to enter into this industry in comparing to previous generations of stylists. There was a time that you had to fight for your chair. You had to fight for shampooing. You had to literally tackle each other or rock, paper, scissors, who got to, stand next to the stylist that was your mentor, who gets to hold the comb or who gets to do the blow dry. It was a race to see who's the first one to arrive and who's the last one to leave. You and I do it when we work together. I pride myself trying to be the first one downstairs ready to go. And I'm like, end up sitting there 2 hours ahead of schedule with nothing to do, twiddling my thumbs. But the pride that I get from when you walk downstairs and you go, why the hell are you down here first? It's so stupid. But that little thing, it's the little things like that. It's those little habits that matter, that build the character, that build the momentum, that get the day going. It's that little bit of that competitive edge. And some people may say, I'm just not a competitive person. I just don't care. That's fine if you don't want to be first place in life, but you got a place somewhere and you got to be competitive for yourself. Because if I take what you said, where I just wait for things to happen,
it might never happen.
Eventually, something might happen.
Maybe.
You'll become the stylist who's getting all the overflow, all the leftover clients when everybody else's book is full.
And then if you go back to what I said, if you just stay there and keep moving forward, you can grow like that too. It's just a lot slower.
It's so slow. You're going to be making 20, 30 grand for 5, 10 years. Yes. Your skill set is going to grow at a glacial pace. You're always going to be questioning. You're always going to be uncomfortable. You're always going to be nervous to do anything. And then when the client comes in, you're going to be a yes, ma'am stylist. Whatever the client requests, you're going to say yes. You're going to go in the back room. You're going to try to be a copy machine. You're going to try to do whatever the client says. You're going to have this customer's always right attitude. And I'm not saying that's necessarily, I am saying it's a bad thing personally, in my opinion. Yeah. But you're never going to grow the income. You're never going to find your dreams or fulfill your dreams. You're always going to rely on some additional job, some additional income. You're going to end up with a partner. You're going to rely on that partner's income. You're never going to be fully independent. And I'm not saying be alone for the rest of your life. I'm just saying the difference of being with somebody and both of you are kicking ass and making money and you're enjoying a lifestyle that both of you equally want versus you have to go do this job. You have to do this many hours. You have to do all these things just to get by to pay the bills. That paycheck to paycheck attitude. It doesn't feel good. And why so many people that I speak to think that they're stuck. They have no other choice. There's so many choices. There's so many opportunities.
So what higher education ideas did you have coming into this today?
At a minimum, just at a minimum, okay, very realistic, specialize. Like, okay, everybody wants to do everything. I want to do haircut and color and
even in the
blow dry
basic.
and finish.
So starting with the basic services, elevate what that service sounds like by specializing in one of them.
Be a master haircutter, be a master stylist, be a master colorist, be a master something.
Foil.
Just at a minimum.
Highlights, gray coverage, right.
Right. Be just, I am the foiling queen. That's fine. Do whatever you want. I don't care what it is, but at a minimum, start off with that. That's very realistic. The education to become that is very attainable and very achievable.
And you know the secret? I think a lot of people are going to be very surprised to hear this. The way you become a specialist is you put that word on your business card, specialist. That's literally where it starts. Believe it or not, I was just okay with curly hair, better than me, a little better than the other ones in my salon. I loved curly hair. I loved using a diffuser, putting the products in it and getting it big. You know, I was a hairdresser early 90s and it was like big hair was really fun. And it took me a good 10, 15 years of doing this for somebody to say, you're really good with curly hair. And then somebody else said, put it on your business card. And I was like, put what? That curly you hair. Specialize, curly hair specialist. And I was like, but you know what? When I did it, and then I got way more. We have it on our website now that we specialize in curly hair. The amount of people that call from way around and then some of my stylists are like, I don't. I said, yes, but I do. Whatever questions they have for you, you just ask me and I can answer them. I know everything about curly hair. And so it's funny how you put it out there. And then if you don't have to be, you can't be terrible at it, but if you're pretty good or you like something, put that you're specializing in it because it's special to you. And then you will be forced to elevate everything about you in that space. You'll study more about it. You'll have more answers. They'll expect you to have the answers. So everything you say actually sounds smarter to the person because it's part of your title that you specialize. It's that simple, guys. You have to tell people, write it down.
Tell people, write it down. And this is how easy it is to get started. Skip 3 days of Starbucks. 4 days if you can. If you skip, no, listen.
I'd be shaken.
Serious.
Oh, you mean make coffee at home? I'd still have to have caffeine.
Legit. If you could skip 3 days of Starbucks, you could get a cheapy mannequin. And you can practice. If you could skip 4 days of Starbucks, you can actually get the difference of 1 day, that's $7, $10, $12, whatever the hell it costs, okay, is the difference between a $15 to $20 mannequin, which is crap, to a $20 to $30,
yeah, a little bit better.
Every $10 range in mannequin head is a different tier quality of mannequin hair.
Right.
And so the sky is the limit. You can get yourself a $200-something freaking mannequin and be pure hair.
You talk a little bit about why mannequins are better when you pay more for them.
Okay, so first of all, the way a mannequin is made is fascinating to me. When I first learned this, I was mind blown. I was this many days old when I learned this type of situation.
All right, maybe I asked you for too many details.
No, but here's the thing. I'll stay very surface.
Okay.
But they have to hand punch. They have to manually punch in the strands of hair.
Right.
So a lot of the time, mannequin hair is very even in its distribution. Okay. It goes in rows. It goes in distribution.
Yes. And I just got grilled for a haircut I did online. People are saying that something doesn't blend about it. And I'm telling them, guys, it's hard when you're doing a graduated, a stacked bob in the back. You see some lines in the hair, no matter how much you blend, texture, razor, because of the way the hair is put in the mannequin. And I'm surprised. Not enough people practice or play with mannequins, so they don't know that. They just think I did a bad haircut.
They don't understand it. Everybody's so judging the finished look.
So judgy.
And it's like the technique. Learn the technique. Well, it looks like crap. Therefore, you're judging the technique on one thing,
Right.
Take what you can learn from the technique.
Yeah. Let's do this. Mannequins, actually, you can go on Amazon and get them really cheap. And they start off, the very cheap ones start off as with synthetic hair, because you might only need to practice braiding, or for your little girl just wants to brush the hair and you get her one for Christmas, you just brush in and maybe cutting, but God forbid you put heat on it because it's going to melt. Just know that. So that's the lowest, cheapest is going to be synthetic. And the longer, the more expensive they get. As they get shorter, they get really cheap. But moving into human hair, when they start to get more expensive. And then what makes it more expensive?
The density and the color, the starting color, the density, and the percentage of human. The type of human and the percentage of human hair is what comes into the cost. So some of the lower end ones are not going to have as much hair on them. They're not going to be as long. Shorter. Even if they do have a full head of hair, they're going to be a shorter length. They won't. And
we use a cheaper mannequin head for doing extensions because we don't change the color, and we are just applying extensions, and we want human hair so it acts the same. But we don't use the cheapest mannequin, but definitely not. The more expensive ones are going to be colored differently so that they can actually take bleach and color, right?
They'll actually have color. They won't be 70-30% mixed, like 70% human, 30% synthetic, or 30% animal, or 30% something else. You know, you'll get 100% human hair. There is that difference as well too. The colors, the lighter you get, the more expensive they are. The darker you get, sometimes they're more expensive. Actually, getting level 6 brunette, plain brown hair is the most common basic mannequin to get. And that's fine. Start with that. Because here's the difference. So many people argue with me. Oh, I just got to get a model. I just got to get a model. First of all, you are questioning your skill set. You are not comfortable with your own skill set. Right. So your confidence in trying to ask somebody to practice on them, you don't even realize your body's language is going to betray you. You may be able to have a poker face, but you're not going to have a poker body. Okay. You're not going to be able to fake your body's language and your energy that you're putting out there when you're talking to somebody that you don't believe a damn thing is saying. You could be lying through your teeth. Your body is going to betray you on that. When you start on it first, the second problem with working on a human, on a person, you're focused on what they want for their hair. So you're only doing it that one way. And you're only now learning it that one way. The second the next model, person, client, human sits in your chair and they don't have that exact hair that you just mastered, everything you just learned right there, out the window over here. The reason why I like doing mannequin hair, because mannequin hair is crap. The density, the way it's placed, the positioning, the quality of it, even on the great ones, they're still not perfect because they all come even one length. They all come the same porosity. They all come, balanced. Humans don't have that. And mannequin head doesn't move once you put it on the stand. You can get around it physically. There is no shoulders, ears in the way. There is no bobbing.
That's one thing. That is one thing that brings the price up. Right. They do have mannequins that come down here, bust, like you have a bust where you have the shoulders also. And it does help understand how hair falls around shoulders. That becomes more expensive. And I've used a couple of those in some learning also. Yeah. So let's get past the specializing. That was a good starting point.
So you become specialist, right? Very easy. $20, $30 buy-in. It's a very low entry, very easy. You practice, you become a specialist. Now you're making some money. Now you have some money to spend on proper education. Okay. So many people take local classes that are hands-on. They try to go to these workshops straight away. They don't do look and learn or lecture style classes. And you can go to lecture style classes for less than $100, from $20 to $100. You can get a very low entry lecture style, look and learn style, whatever they call it, where you just sit and observe and you have the educator doing the demonstration. Okay. You can learn so much. You can interact with the crowd so much. You can interact directly with the educator so much. You can learn so much. And don't tell me, oh, a lot of companies just do product knowledge. You don't really learn technique. They only, an hour class, 2 hour class, you only spend 10 minutes on the actual technique. It's all product knowledge. Then don't go back to that. It's a low buy-in. So yeah, you're going to have some companies before you sign up, ask questions, do your due diligence, do your research. Don't just sign up just for the sake of signing up.
Right.
Okay. And those bad experiences that you get in education will teach you what to look for in descriptions for the next education.
Still education. So you're saying if you can't afford hands-on, more expensive education, something is better than nothing.
Don't just jump in blind to hands-on education straight away if you have no idea where to start.
And lecture is better. Lecture is better than online because you can communicate with the person, is what you're saying. Or even Zoom, you can at least ask questions and communicate.
There is a difference between watching pre-recorded video, because I'm all for pre-recorded video. Mm-hmm. And you can go, I'm not even talking about like YouTube and social media. I'm saying like actually go buy pre-recorded education, online academies, things like that. Okay. Mm-hmm. You could start off with that, and that's totally fine because it becomes a reference point. But you have to you need creative ways of applying it and digesting that information. This is where live education comes in. This is where the interaction comes in, where you can ask questions, hear other people ask questions. You may be nervous to ask a question because you may think people are asking smarter questions than you. Vice versa. You may think all of a sudden you're the smartest person in the room because other people are asking questions. You're like, really? You don't even know that much? That's basic to me. You don't know where you exist in the world. You are a teardrop in an ocean of knowledge. And you have no idea if you're creating a ripple or a wave or a tsunami, however you say the word.
I know what I'm creating.
You're creating a hurricane, my friend. You are a force. But that's what it is. Start off with lecture and then get to the hands-on workshop. And go all in on the hands-on workshops. Be the first one there. Find your best spot. Find the spot closest to the educator. Be the teacher's pet. Let everybody roll their eyes at you.
Ask the stupid questions.
Ask
all the questions.
Come in with a notebook and a pen and paper and start writing. Take your phone and record whatever the hell you have to do. Get your money's worth and then some out of it. Okay? Treat it like a buffet. Isn't that right? Look at him. He's digging in for the pets. He doesn't want to wait for the hour to be up.
Casper's going. He's getting front row seat. Lay down.
That's it. So yeah, hands-on workshops is the way to go. And I think too many people focus on styling and coloring. They ignore smoothing treatments, perms, hair extensions. They think like head spa or conditioning, scalp analysis, things like that. I think too many people think, oh, I do haircut and color all day. Therefore, that's what I really need to get more of, haircut and color education. And it's like, okay, then you're still staying in your lane within your realm of what you're providing. You are not expanding your services. And if that's what you're looking to do, that you just want to stay in that focus and not expand beyond that, okay, fine. Then you got to get really good at that. But at what point can you keep specializing? And at what point can you remain in your same area? And how much can you grow your business price-wise under those conditions and circumstances? It's going to be really hard to charge $500 for a haircut when the 3 other stylists in the next stations around you are still charging less than 100.
Yeah.
There's going to be some disparity going on. You're going to have some explaining to do. It's going to be hard to build the environment that you're trying to create.
It's possible. It is possible. I don't think there's a limit on raising prices, but I do think that most people have a mental limit. And so I think what ends up happening is because we have these mental limitations, it's easier for a stylist to learn a higher end service. Any service is high end if you charge the right amount of money for it. But for some reason, it's like socially acceptable to charge a lot of money for hair replacement, a lot of money for hair extensions, a lot of money for certain types of conditioning, straightening, keratin, whatever treatment we're going to call it. Even chemical services, color and highlights would be the lower end of everything else I just named. And as you go up into these other services, it's more justifiable, no matter where you are, to charge more because it's more socially acceptable across the board. So you have to make that decision. Can you raise your prices doing what you're doing easy enough and continue to give enough value to raise that price? Or do you need to learn something more? So something I struggled with for a while, and I felt like I was not being fair to people, because I would say, try and learn all these different things. And then I would say, you're doing too many things. When are you going to focus? And so I started realizing, like, you know what? People are in two different places in their journey. Some of you guys in the very beginning, or conversely, I met a lady yesterday who is 67 years old, but still actively doing lots of hair. And she's just getting started with extensions. And so maybe, and I don't know her whole backstory, but let's imagine she did just haircuts and color her whole career. And she finally decides to learn some different things because she moved from up north to down to the Florida area, and a lot of snowbirds come down. And so she's starting a new career down there. So she's starting again, and she's doing it right because she's learning extensions. But at some point during your journey, you need to wake up and say, maybe the few little services I'm doing isn't enough. I need to learn some more. That's when you don't focus. That's when you try a little bit of everything. Like you said, you try a bunch of lectures, and then you're like, oh, maybe I want to focus in on these 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 things. Then you do a hands-on each of those, and you're like, oh, okay, so I really like this 1 or 2. And then you really go in for the best in the field of that particular product or service, get really good at it, practice it a bunch. And then I say you focus. And maybe you never do updos ever again. Maybe you never do nails. Maybe you never do pedicures. Maybe you never do facials. That's okay, because you're going to specialize or focus on something. So there's a time to not focus, and there's a time to focus, in my opinion.
And once you find your focus, go keep building like a ladder, keep steps, whatever you want to refer to it as. Keep building, keep growing.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's just say you like hair extensions. Okay. You start off with what you think is easy because you looked it up on social media to start off with. And you're like, oh, tapes are the safest, popular, most quickest, easiest thing to do in the world because, social media says so. Then you start doing tape-ins and you realize what a hot mess you just got yourself into, knee deep in the mud, Then you're like, oh, well, then maybe I need to learn something else. Well, K-tips are great. Then you start looking into it and you're like, man, that's terribly expensive to get started, to get certified. So I'm going to go with something lesser, like beaded or reusable or something. And like, well, everybody does these tips, so therefore I'll do those. It's like you're going after what everybody else recommends because that worked for them. So now you're blindly going in, trying things out, When you start trying things, you're like, oh, this sucked, therefore I'll never touch it again. This one and done mentality and attitude got to get out of your head. Just because you tried it once and it didn't taste good, or it didn't feel good, or you didn't like it, or whatever the hell it was too hard.
Did you read the comments? RJ said that same thing in college. When you go to college, you learn how to do certain things, but you got to try to grab what you need when you're there. They don't teach you everything you need to know. They can't teach you practical experience. And then many of those he says a lot of college graduates get placed at Starbucks.
For the funding, to retain their funding, because they got to keep their placement numbers up. It was weird. It was so weird the way that worked.
I didn't even know that was a thing. But I'll tell you what I added to my education yesterday. I didn't add it, but I really doubled down on it. I said, listen, she wanted to learn how to do the beaded topper. I said, this is not something you learn in a day. I mean, you got this. It was a little difficult for her. She's like, oh, wow. I feel like a young student again. I said, I know it's a little difficult to get that tool through there, to bead on there. I said, but your neighbors won't be doing it fast and easy. They won't look over and say, oh, look how easy that is. It'll look easy. Then when they go to try it, after you get good at it, they'll think it looks easy, but they won't be able to pick it up easily. Education's worth it. But I got to tell you what the trainer told me that taught me. Now, he told me to do twice as much as I'm going to say right now, but I brought maybe 4 times as much. He said I needed to do it twice a day for 2 weeks. I brought it all the way down to once a day for 1 week. If you want to go more, great. But I said, listen, what you got to do what I did. You see, imagine this hair system, I'm looking at it right now, is on this mannequin head, and you come to work an hour early for a week, and you come in and you hate it, but you take it off of that mannequin head and you put it back on terribly, badly, awfully looking. And don't worry about it. Just do it again the next morning. And about the 3rd or 4th day, you're going to be like, oh, it's starting to make sense. You really got to put the reps in. You got to do it over and over again. And by the 4th and 5th day, you might say, I think I'd like to do this for a whole nother week and get really good at this. But all I'm telling you is at the end, which she got to watch Alexis go into a private room and do a client at the end of her day. And I walked in a little later because I was finishing up some other stuff. I said, how's it going in here? And Gina looks at me and she says, she's fast. I said, it's yes, but just compared to you, really, because that's normal. That it's not a slow process. A beaded topper system goes on in about 10 or 15 minutes, comes off in about 5 minutes. So, within an hour, you can take one off, put it on, shampoo, blow dry, style, maybe more time if you need to add color highlights. But it's a pretty quick service. But when you first learning it, you think this is going to be a 3 or 4 hour service because I am terribly slow at this.
So I have a question for you.
Yep.
Somebody comes and they get trained. They first learn it, they get trained, right? How often should somebody come back after they've learned something? Or how many people don't even realize they have the ability to keep coming back for more refreshing?
Not many at all. Not many. When I was on the road teaching hair replacement for a few years there, we would push it pretty hard. Refreshers are free. Bring your tools, bring your equipment. Obviously, you have to pay for your own. Depending on where it is, you might have to pay for your airfare, hotel to get to where we are. And I have to say, I can probably name 4 or 5, but I bet you we had 8 to 10 people out of 300 or 400 people that we taught over a couple of years actually take us up on it. Usually it's because it was in their city and they're like, oh, you're back in my city, I'm going to come join in. Or I took the online class, now you're in my city, I'm going to join in. Very few people take advantage of it. And you know who gets the most out of a hair replacement, any class, in this case, hair replacement? The ones that have been doing it for a few months or a year and they come back to a class. And it's funny because some of the comments are, oh, wow, you changed the class up a little, huh? Nope. It's like a pattern. I have an agenda. What do you mean? You didn't teach that last time. That's the whole point. You can't remember. And I think it was a 2-day class, actually. So there's no way you can remember everything in 2 days. Go back and do it all. So come into a class a second, a third, or 4th time, even if it's the identical class, is valuable and totally worth it.
Totally worth it. You always remember, reinforce, or hear something new each time you go in. Now, here's a follow-up to that. How many times do you and I come up with an advanced version of a basic program?
Because we get better.
Because we got better, because technology got better, because the product got better, the trends have gotten better. Whatever has changed in the world, we come up with this advanced education and we start offering it and throwing it out there. And so many people are like, I've been doing it for a while. I'm already good. I'm already good enough.
Right.
This I'm good enough attitude that I don't need to learn more. How often do you run into that?
Fortunately and unfortunately, fortunate for me, but it's kind of a weird situation. Something else I've learned is that I can have students that just see things completely different in school, don't even have a license yet, teach them something, and then they do it a little different. And then I have an aha moment and say, oh, wow, how did you come up with that? I don't know. It just made more sense. Certainly does. It certainly does. And my whole life has changed now because of your brains, accident, mistake. I don't care what you call it. That's freaking genius. And that's how we're going to do it from now on. So it's kind of like fortunate for people to come after that. And that's how we put our advanced classes together. It's like we stumble upon better ways, better ideas through experience. The system or the technique just grows. And a lot of times it's from students making mistakes, happy accidents. And then it's all of a sudden, it's like, that's going into an advanced class. That's a great idea. And then we get to pass that on to other people later. And it's valuable. I spent time and money on the road to do it, time away from my family. That costs something. And so to me, if I was a student on the other side, I would say, sure, it'd be great to pick it up here, see it on a free YouTube video. But if you put all that stuff together and you've got a class on all the better, faster, easier ways to do something to make more money, I would pay for it. I do this all the time. I pay for education all the time. I'm always looking for things to pay for to get better at stuff. And I even say that's one of the things I love most about getting old. I have a lot less pride. I will admit really quick, I don't think I don't mind as a coach, critique me. Well, I don't want to hurt your feelings. Please hurt my feelings. Make me better really fast. Tell me how stupid and wrong I am so I can fix it way quicker. Well, I don't want to. So I have to tell a coach, be more mean to me so I can learn faster. I don't have time for this slow learning, and I don't have time for being nice. I want you to be really hard on me. And I just feel like the learning is faster, and it's my style, but I don't do that for people. I'm a little abrupt, when I'm teaching. Most people appreciate it, but I'm just very direct and honest because I think that's how you get education across a little bit faster. But I get it. I know we have feelings and sensitivity to deal with, and I'm not trying to beat people down. So I think in some cases it's important to be very nice about education and encouraging so that people can move forward. But I don't know. I don't even know why I just went on that rant. I like to learn fast.
And that's what it's all about. Okay. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So you start off simple, you get better. You have to be hungry to keep getting better and to keep getting advanced and to keep doing more. Okay. Getting a collection of certificates is amazing. You can get so many certificates that you can plaster your wall with, right? The most advanced thing you can do after you get certified is get people in your chair and start doing. There is how is it called? The proverbial student or the forever student? There are some people that just are caught up in the education cycle. They go from class to class, knowledge to knowledge, program to program, but they never start doing. They're always practicing. I got to be perfect. I got to be perfect. I'm a perfectionist.
That's another one that's kind of like I don't know if this is right, but it sounds right. The eternal student. Eternally.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never heard the saying before, but I think that it can mean two different things because you do want to never think you know it all. And you do want to be a continual student, but not in such a way in a particular area that it causes that analysis paralysis where you're like, I got to get perfect before I offer it and charge money for it. I would rather, if that's your challenge, I say the way to get over that is, well, then do it for free or do it cheaper or do it less expensive at first, because you've got to do it on real people. You've got to move forward. And I think that the confidence will come a lot quicker than you think it will if you do. But if you keep doing it on a mannequin, mannequins are different than real people. There are limitations. You may never get the service as perfect as you want. So offer it for no charge on a real person if you are having that paralysis by analysis problem. If you really can't seem to move forward, do it for free. That will help you get the technique
you a lot. And here's something for an advanced ideology. Being a perfectionist is actually the worst thing to be in this industry. Yeah. The beauty of imperfection is what brings the beauty out in people.
Yeah.
Perfect applications are not always the best way to go. I'm not saying be a slob and just be sloppy, be lazy and don't care. That's not what I'm saying.
Well,
but the ability to do something and not dwell on each individual section after section after section And to have it
It's
be
hard.
slightly uneven and
Yeah.
off actually looks more blended and more, it may technically not look exact, but there's a difference between the technique and what you applied versus the end result of how it looks.
I agree. To start off with, there's roughly 100,000 strands of hair on a person's head.
Okay.
If when it's just light, you don't see each hair at a different length, right? You know, like, look, my fingers aren't all perfect. Somebody messed up. They should all be. And so if all your hair is like even one length hair, let's start there. I love this example. One length hair only looks good when a person sits like this. Soon as they, and you know, if they have a neck brace on, as soon as they do this or this or they, even if they're just, oh, really? And their head's like this and they're talking, that one length is doing this and this and this. It's never boom, straight in the back. So does it matter if you cut it perfectly straight? Sure, we're going to try to get it pretty close, but it just doesn't matter after that, because there's nobody that's like, yes, oh, that's great. Wait, I'll be right with you. Oh yeah. And you know, that's the only time that hair is going to look perfect on your back, is if you're just I'm in a swivel.
On a swivel.
I'm on a swivel. So this swivel chair makes it real easy to keep my one length haircut just perfect. But nobody does. They're shaking their head like this, and that Bob is doing this. And I mean, Bob, one length cut and or Bob. So, right. And then when hair gets above the shoulders, yes, it might show a little more in this area, but still they're going to be. So I think you're right. If you're dwelling on perfection, first, it takes longer. Time is money. It hardly ever gets there, but that's what slows you down from learning also. And then there are some things that matter. Some things need to be a little closer. Like, you can't have one sideburn here and then one here. You can't have it on an angle like this when you're trying to get straight. So you have to know what parts of the head matter a little bit more. The outline is more important than the interior layers when you're cutting hair. And look, mine is a little bushy on the side because my glasses make it stick out. Some of these imperfections, my wife complains about a little bit, but most people say they love my hair. They like it sticking out like this. And my wife's always coming up and doing like this. I'm like, no, it's supposed to stick out and be a little wild. So you can't please everybody all the time, but you do your best. And I think most people, especially today, like a little more perfection. We're kind of out of the Sassoon era of crisp, clean, perfect lines everywhere.
It's yes, we're away from those trends, if you will, or those looks, if you will.
They'll come back.
There are still people that like them, and they look fantastic. My thing is more of I struggle a lot when I have somebody in class, when I have a stylist in class, and she's sitting there going, oh, I gotta just fold this bond one more time. It's like, dude, you folded it 4 times already.
Or the foils.
Or the foil. You know, I hate this foil.
I hate the Christmas package foils that are folded up into a little bitty thing like this, like boom, 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 boom.
Right.
And now I need a bow. It's like, yeah, I bet you do need a bow for every freaking foil on that head. And it's going to be next Christmas when you're done.
So, yeah. You know, timing is one thing. Speed is good, but speed, you can't force speed. Speed comes naturally.
Yeah.
Body positioning, getting your mental comfort in place first, then leads to your physical comfort. And then the repetition brings in the speed. That's how you grow. That's how you get more advanced. That's how you get good, get better at doing what you're doing, you know?
I'd like to close
class just to make sure that you didn't produce some bad habit along the way. You should always be constantly going back for classes. If anything, if you say you didn't learn anything, then what you did learn was you're doing everything correctly.
Yeah. So I'd like to close with this. Good friend of mine in Texas, Ali, he had a really good process and system in his salon. And I adopted it in my own because I think it was such a great idea. It's the next level of learning, teaching. Anytime any stylist in his salon went to a class, they had teaching once a week in the salon for a couple hours on a Tuesday morning or whatever it was. And so if one of his girls came and learned an extension class from me, that girl on Tuesday morning would be teaching that class to the rest of the salon. Because when you teach what you just learned, it reinforces it. So even if the rest of the salon didn't decide to do extensions because they weren't maybe certified or didn't get the professional or proper training from me, them teaching the rest of the salon did a couple of things. At a minimum, it let the rest of the salon know that they do extensions, that they are better than the rest of them. They're like, damn, girl, you are pretty good at this. If you're teaching it, if you're showing me, and I can't quite get it. So I don't think I like this, but I'll be sending my extension clients to you. So it promotes you. It reminds you what you learned. It will help brush up your skills a little. It's basically practicing what you just learned by passing it on to others. It's just such a great practice in every way to try and teach what, and I don't care if you're in a salon with 2 people or if you're just one person, teach it to your spouse, your children, a friend, bring a friend over and say, hey, I just went to this class. I want to show you what I learned. And you know what? If you don't have any friends, that's okay. Put a tripod up and make a YouTube video and say, hey, YouTube or Facebook, I want to show you what I just learned. And now it's marketing. Now it's marketing. This is what I just learned, and I'm going to do it on a mannequin head because I want to get good at it. But I'd love to see you in my chair here in a minute if you like what I'm doing. So watch what I'm doing, and you video it. And you know what? It's not live, so it doesn't matter if you mess up. And then you could possibly learn. You could just post it, or you could learn some editing skills and just cut out the parts where you say stupid stuff and mess up. Make yourself look like a rock star. Yeah. So that's what I say. Teach what you just got taught.
It's the best way to reinforce what you know.
That's all I got, Eddie. I ran out.
It's good topics. It's good stuff.
It all fell out.
If you have any questions, let us know. Leave us a comment. And thank you all for watching.
You got to subscribe, guys, and comment, subscribe, like, and slide it over and hit the hype button.
Hype us up.